A naive dream, the Emperor said. The strong will always dominate the weak. That is the nature of existence. Then we'll change existence, Maria replied. One world at a time. One freed species at a time. Until your empire is nothing but a warning in history texts about what happens when the strong forget that the weak can become the powerful. The Galactic Accord was signed 3 months later. The Crithian Dominion was dissolved. Its territories became independent or joined the coalition. War crimes tribunals were established, not for revenge but for justice. And humanity, the species that had been classified as Category 9 labor units, became the founders of a new age. Not as conquerors but as liberators. Not as masters but as equals. Maria Rodriguez returned to Earth 4 years after the first Crithian contact. She was 56 years old and felt ancient. The cost of war had been staggering. 50 million humans dead. Billions across the galaxy who had perished in the fighting or in the Crithian retaliation against rebellious slaves. But 15 billion were free. She stood at the memorial in Geneva, a towering structure that listed every name of every person from every species who had died fighting for freedom. The list was still being compiled. It would take years to finish. A young human soldier approached, saluting. Chancellor, the first ambassadors from the freed species are arriving. They're requesting a meeting to discuss the coalition's future. Maria nodded. The war was over. The hard part, building peace, was just beginning. She looked up at the stars, no longer cold and threatening, but filled with possibility. Humanity had declared that they would not be slaves. The galaxy had learned that declaration was not negotiable. The Crithian Empire had fallen. In its place, something new was being born. Something built not on domination but on cooperation. Not on fear but on hope. It would be difficult. It would be messy. There would be setbacks and failures. But humanity had learned something in those 4 terrible years. That the only thing more powerful than the will to dominate was the will to be free. And that will, once awakened, could burn across the stars. Intelligence intercepts revealed a massive fleet assembling at the Dominion capital world. Not just their military forces but everything. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier they could muster. They were preparing for a final confrontation. Maria stood on the bridge of humanity's defiance, studying the reports. General Hutchison, now commanding the coalition's military operations, stood beside her. They're going to try to end this in one battle, he said. Everything they have against everything we have. Can we win? Honestly? I don't know. We've got superior tactics and technology. But they've got numbers. This isn't a raid on a processing station. This is total war. Maria looked at the star map. The Crithian capital, KRYH Prime, glowed at the center. A world that had never been attacked in 12,000 years. A world that believed itself invincible. Send word to all coalition forces, she said. We're going to KRYH Prime. Every ship, every soldier. We end this. You're sure? The Crithians taught the galaxy that resistance was futile. That compliance was inevitable. We're going to teach them something else. She smiled grimly. That humanity never learned to accept futility. And we're excellent teachers. The coalition fleet gathered at a staging point 3 systems from KRYH Prime. It was the largest military force assembled in galactic history. 800 ships from dozens of species, united by a common cause. Freedom. Maria addressed them all through a broadcast that reached every vessel. She saw humans, the lizard-like Sar, the insectoid Vrex, aquatic Dulmer, and dozens of other species she was still learning to name. We didn't choose this war, she said. The Crithians brought it to our worlds. They demanded we surrender our freedom, our dignity, our very lives. Some of you have lived in chains for generations. Some of us, like Earth, fought from the first moment. But all of us are here for the same reason. Because slavery ends today. She paused, looking at the faces watching from 1,000 screens. The Dominion believes their capital is untouchable. That their might is absolute. They're wrong. We've proven it dozens of times. Today we prove it once more. Not just for ourselves but for every species in this galaxy. So that none will ever again be forced to bow. The fleet jumped to KRYH Prime. They emerged to find a nightmare waiting. The Crithian fleet was massive beyond comprehension. 3,000 ships of war, arrayed in perfect formation around their home world. Each vessel bristling with weapons. Each crew trained by millennia of conquest. The odds were almost 4-1 against the coalition. All ships, Maria commanded. Execute Operation Broken Chain. The coalition fleet didn't attack as a unified force. Instead, they split into hundreds of small units, each moving independently, each with different objectives. The Crithians tried to respond, but their command structure expected conventional warfare. They couldn't adapt to chaos. Human ships loaded with quantum disruption weapons targeted Crithian command vessels, disabling their ability to coordinate. Sarthan pilots, smaller and more maneuverable, hit supply ships and support craft. The Vreks, with their natural ability to process multiple inputs simultaneously, controlled drone swarms that overwhelmed Crithian point defenses. The battle was not elegant. It was brutal, desperate, and costly. Ships died on both sides. Heroes were made and forgotten in the same minute as vessels exploded in silent fire. But slowly, impossibly, the coalition pushed forward. After 8 hours, the Crithian lines broke. Not because they were defeated, but because they no longer knew how to coordinate. Their ancient tactics had no answer for enemies who refused to fight by the established rules. Maria's ship, battered and scarred, reached orbital range of KRYH Prime. She transmitted on all frequencies. Crithian command, this is Chancellor Maria Rodriguez of Earth. Your fleet is destroyed. Your empire has fallen. Surrender now and we will show you the mercy you never showed others. Continue fighting and we will demonstrate what happens when you awaken humanity's wrath. The response came from KRYH Prime's planetary defense commander. We are the Dominion. We have ruled for 12,000 years. We do not surrender to slaves. Then you'll learn that we were never your slaves, Maria said. We were always your executioners. You just hadn't met us yet. The coalition's remaining forces, nearly 300 ships, opened fire on the planetary defenses. Not on the cities, not on the civilians, but on the military installations, the government centers, the symbols of Crithian power. 3 days later, the Dominion surrendered unconditionally. Maria stood in the Grand Council chamber of KRYH Prime, the same chamber where Crithian emperors had ruled for millennia. The room was designed to inspire awe and fear, with ceilings that soared hundreds of feet high, walls carved from crystal that reflected light in hypnotic patterns. The surviving Crithian leadership knelt before her. Not because she had demanded it, but because their culture recognized defeat in a way that required physical submission. She had them stand. No more kneeling, she said. Not for you, not for anyone. The age of masters and slaves ended the day you came to Earth. The Crithian emperor, a being whose title had been passed down for 400 generations, looked at her with eyes that held genuine confusion. What? You have won. You could rule as we ruled. Build your own empire. Maria thought about the 30 million who had died defending Earth. Thought about the billions freed from slavery. Thought about the cost of victory and the price of power. Because we didn't fight to replace your empire with ours, she said. We fought so no empire could ever do this again. The galaxy doesn't need rulers. It needs cooperation. It needs freedom. It needs to remember that every sentient being has the right to choose their own path. The fleet that left Earth 4 months after the first battle consisted of 63 ships. 40 were human vessels retrofitted with Crithian technology. 23 were captured Crithian ships, rebuilt and crewed by humans who had trained relentlessly to operate alien systems. Maria commanded from the bridge of the newly commissioned vessel Humanity's Defiance. It was a Crithian heavy cruiser that had been captured intact, now enhanced with human innovations. The name was chosen deliberately. A message to the Dominion and to themselves. Their first target was Processing Station Theta 9, a massive facility orbiting a gas giant in the Crithian Outer Territories. According to captured intelligence, it housed 80,000 enslaved beings from 4 different species, processing raw materials extracted from the planet's moons. The station's defenses were formidable. Automated weapon platforms. Shield generators powerful enough to withstand sustained assault. Garrison forces of 2,000 Crithian soldiers. Against a conventional attack, it would have been impregnable. Humanity's Defiance and her escort emerged from FTL space on the far side of the gas giant, hidden from the station's sensors by the planet's massive electromagnetic field. While the Crithian sensors swept empty space, looking for threats from expected vectors, human engineers deployed something new. Stealth drones, smaller than fighters, coated in materials that absorb sensor radiation. They drifted toward the station on minimal power, appearing as nothing more than space debris. Each carried a single payload, a quantum disruption device. The drones reached the shield generators. Activated simultaneously. Reality twisted. The shields flickered and died. The weapon platforms went offline. Inside the station, Crithian systems cascaded into failure as the quantum disruptions propagated through their interconnected networks. Humanity's fleet struck before the Crithians could recover. Not with weapons designed to destroy, but with precision strikes that disabled. Communications arrays went silent. Power systems failed. Docking bays were sealed. Maria's boarding teams hit the station from 12 points simultaneously. They moved through corridors with practiced efficiency, stunning Crithian guards with weapons designed to incapacitate rather than kill. This was not a battle of extermination. This was liberation. The enslaved workers were found in massive holding facilities. The first species Maria encountered looked like bipedal lizards, scales dulled by malnutrition and exhaustion. They cowered when the humans entered, expecting punishment. Through translators salvaged from Crithian systems, Maria spoke. "We are from Earth. The Crithians tried to enslave us. We fought back. We won. And now we're here to free you." The lizard-like beings stared. One finally spoke, their voice rendered by the translator as elderly and weary. "Free? What is free? We have served for 16 generations. This is all we know." "Free means you choose," Maria said. "Choose where you go, what you do, who you serve if anyone. We can take you to a safe world, give you supplies to rebuild. Or," she paused, "where you can fight with us. We'll train you, arm you, teach you how to hurt the ones who held your chains." The elderly being looked at their people. Thousands of them, broken by generations of servitude. Then back at Maria. "Teach us," they said. Across the station, the same scene repeated with 3 other species. Some chose safety, transport to unoccupied worlds with resources to start again. But most chose rage. Most chose to fight. By the time humanity's fleet departed, they carried 45,000 new recruits. Beings who had lived their entire lives as property, now training as soldiers. Learning tactics. Learning to use captured Crithian weapons. Learning that chains could be broken. Station Theta 9 became a pattern. Over the next 6 months, Maria's fleet hit 37 facilities. Each time they freed tens of thousands. Each time most chose to join the fight. The Free Coalition was born. Not an empire but an alliance of the formerly enslaved. Humans provided military leadership and innovation. The other species provided numbers, local knowledge, and a burning desire for revenge. The Crithian dominion began to fracture. Their communication networks were compromised, filled with false data that sent fleets chasing phantoms. Supply lines were cut by coordinated strikes. Rebellions erupted on worlds that had been pacified for millennia, sparked by freed slaves who returned home carrying weapons and hope. The Dominion's response was predictable. They dispatched their grand fleets, massive armadas meant to crush resistance through overwhelming force. But the fleets arrived at empty systems or found themselves ambushed by coalition forces that struck and vanished before they could respond. Humanity taught the galaxy something the Crithians had forgotten over 12 millennia of dominance: that the strong could be defeated by the clever. That numbers meant nothing against strategy. That an empire built on subjugation would crumble when its subjects refused to submit. 10 months after the first liberation, the coalition had freed 400 facilities. 5 billion former slaves had been released. 2 billion had joined the fight. The Dominion controlled barely half its former territory. But the Crithians had one final card to play. The reckoning. The ruins still smoldered 3 weeks after the battle. Maria Rodriguez walked through what remained of the Tokyo Administrative District, her security team trailing at a respectful distance. The smell of ash and twisted metal filled the air. Work crews cleared debris while construction drones hummed overhead, already beginning reconstruction. A young girl approached, maybe 7 years old, clutching a salvaged tablet displaying images of the destroyed Crithian ships. Her mother tried to pull her back, but Maria smiled and knelt down. "You helped save us," the girl said in careful English. "We all saved each other," Maria replied. "That's what humans do." But as she walked away, the weight of those 30 million deaths pressed harder. They had won a battle. The war was just beginning. The command center had been relocated to a facility beneath the Swiss Alps, one of the few locations that had survived intact. Maria entered to find controlled chaos. Every screen displayed different intelligence, every station manned by specialists working around the clock. Dr. Tanaka looked like she hadn't slept in days. Probably because she hadn't. "Show me what you've found," Maria said without preamble. Yuki pulled up a holographic display of the galaxy. Thousands of points glowed in amber. "These are confirmed Crithian holdings. 6,247 worlds under direct control. The Dominion is structured in sectors, each governed by a regional command. They've been expanding slowly for 12 millennia, absorbing new species every few centuries. Show me the labor facilities." The display shifted. Clusters of red dots appeared throughout Crithian space. These are the processing centers and work installations. We've identified 847 major facilities. Mining operations on barren worlds. Agricultural complexes on terraformed planets. Construction yards building their ships and stations. Population. Conservative estimate? 15 billion enslaved beings across 200 species. Some have been in bondage for thousands of years. Their home worlds are stripped of resources, their populations maintained at whatever level serves Crithian needs. Maria stared at the display. 15 billion. The number was incomprehensible. General Hutchison joined them. We've been analyzing the captured ships. The technology is remarkable, but Yuki was right. It's stagnant. Their FTL drives use principles we can understand and improve. Their weapons are powerful but predictable. Their shields have 17 exploitable weaknesses we've already identified. How long to retrofit our ships with Crithian technology? The ships we have? 6 months for basic integration. But we don't have enough ships, Chancellor. We destroyed their fleet, but they'll send more. Bigger fleets. And we're in no position to defend Earth again. Maria nodded slowly. She had known this moment would come. Then we don't defend. We attack. The room went silent. Explain, Hutchison said carefully. The Crithians expect us to wait, to rebuild, to prepare for their next assault. They've probably already dispatched multiple fleets. They'll come expecting to find us cowering behind whatever defenses we can scrape together. She looked at the holographic display, at those hundreds of red dots. They won't expect us to be gone. Yuki caught on first. You want to take the fight to them. Hit their infrastructure before they can organize a proper response. More than that. We free the slaves. Every species the Crithians have subjugated becomes a potential ally. The Dominion has held power through overwhelming force and the assumption of compliance. We show them what happens when slaves fight back. It's insane, Hutchison said. But he was smiling. We have maybe 50 operational warships. They have thousands. We'd be outnumbered 100 to 1. We've been outnumbered before, Maria said. 3 weeks ago we were outnumbered 17 to 1. We won. We got lucky. We got creative. And we're about to teach the galaxy that humanity's best weapon isn't our technology or our numbers. It's our refusal to accept that something is impossible. Over the next 3 months, Earth worked miracles. The captured Crithian vessels were stripped, studied, and rebuilt. Human engineers combined alien technology with their own innovations, creating hybrid ships that outperformed both parent designs. The FTL drives were enhanced with human quantum mechanics, doubling their range and speed. Crithian energy weapons were integrated with railgun acceleration systems, increasing their destructive power by 400%. The shield technology was reverse-engineered and improved, with dynamic frequency modulation that adapted to incoming threats. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A linguist named Dr. James Morrison had been studying Crithian communication protocols. He discovered something remarkable embedded in their encrypted transmissions. They're not just communicating, he explained to Maria and the command staff. They're constantly broadcasting their location, status, and orders across a network that spans their entire dominion. It's how they coordinate across 6,000 worlds. But it's also a weakness. How? Maria asked. Because we can access it. The captured ships have the encryption keys. We can listen to every order, every fleet movement, every supply convoy. Better yet, we can inject false data. Make them think their facilities are under attack when they're not. Redirect fleets to empty systems. Create chaos in their command structure. Yuki grinned. Information warfare. They've never needed to defend against it because who would dare hack the Dominion? Humans, Morrison said simply. Humans would dare. Until now. The Crithian fleet arrived on day 46. Not 3 ships this time. 50. They hung in orbit like a constellation of death, their hulls reflecting sunlight in patterns that hurt to look at. Zextharn's message was brief. The compliance period has ended. Integration will begin immediately. Submit your population center coordinates for processing. Resistance will be met with appropriate force. Maria stood in the command center deep beneath Geneva. Around her, military commanders from every nation waited. Screens showed the Crithian fleet. Other screens showed Earth's defenses, pathetically small by comparison. Open a channel, she said. Her face appeared on every screen, broadcast to every ship, every city, every human on Earth and beyond. Ambassador Zextharn, she said calmly. I am Chancellor Maria Rodriguez of Earth's United Council. I speak for all humanity when I deliver our response to your integration protocols. She paused. The weight of the moment pressed against her chest. Every human alive was watching. History would remember these words. No. The word was simple. Final. It contained everything humanity was choosing in that moment. Freedom over safety. Dignity over survival. The right to choose their own fate, whatever that fate might be. That is disappointing, Zextharn's reply came. Correction protocols are authorized. Your defensive installations will be eliminated. Your cities will be occupied. Your resistance will be brief. The Crithian ships moved. Weapons activated, glowing with contained energy that could sterilize continents. Maria gave the order. All units, execute Protocol Defiance. Earth's response was not what the Crithians expected. The missiles that launched were not aimed at the ships. They detonated in seemingly random patterns across the upper atmosphere. The laser platforms fired not at vessels but at specific points in space. For 3 seconds nothing happened. Then reality screamed. The quantum disruption weapons activated. They were not elegant. They were not precise. They tore holes in space-time itself, brief windows lasting milliseconds. But those milliseconds were enough. The Crithian shields were designed to deflect. The disruptions appeared inside the shields, inside the ships themselves. Metal twisted. Systems failed. The ancient vessels, built to withstand conventional warfare, had no defense against attacks that bypassed physical space entirely. 17 ships simply stopped functioning, their systems catastrophically compromised. 20 more took critical damage. The remaining vessels tried to retreat, but Earth's kinetic weapons were already in motion. Projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds, guided by AI systems that predicted evasion patterns. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 43 Crithian ships were destroyed. 7 had escaped, jumping to faster than light the moment they could re-establish their drives. Earth had won. The cost was staggering. The quantum weapons had been experimental, unstable. 2 detonated incorrectly, killing millions in the blast zones. Crithian weapons had found their targets before the ships fell. Sydney was burning. Tokyo was partially destroyed. Mexico City had taken a direct hit. 30 million dead. Humanity's defensive infrastructure was in ruins. And somewhere in the galaxy, the Crithian Dominion was receiving news of an unprecedented defeat. Maria stood among the wreckage of the command center. Half the ceiling had collapsed. Screens flickered with damage reports. But they had won. Against impossible odds, Earth had refused to submit and survived. General Hutchison found her in the ruins. His uniform was torn, blood on his face from flying debris. "Chancellor," he said quietly, "we've analyzed the ships we captured intact. Their databanks are accessible. And we know where they came from. We know their routes. We know the locations of their labor facilities. Maria, we know where they're keeping the other species they've enslaved." She looked at him. Saw the same thought forming in his mind that was forming in hers. "How many enslaved species?" she asked. 200. Across 6,000 worlds. Billions of sentient beings working in chains. Maria thought about the humans who had died. Thought about the choice they had made. Freedom over submission. Then she thought about those billions who had never been given that choice. "Prepare a fleet," she said. "We're not done fighting." The demand. The night sky above Geneva had never looked more beautiful or more threatening. Chancellor Maria Rodriguez stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the United Council chamber, watching the 3 massive vessels hover in perfect formation above the city. They had appeared 6 hours ago, materializing without warning in Earth's atmosphere. No engines, no heat signatures, just suddenly there, as if reality itself had opened a door and let them through. Behind her, the emergency session was descending into chaos. Representatives from every nation shouted over each other in a dozen languages. The translation AI struggled to keep up. Fear had a way of making people loud. Maria turned from the window. She was 52 years old, a career diplomat who had spent 30 years navigating the complex politics of a divided Earth. Nothing in that experience had prepared her for this moment. "Silence," she said. Her voice was not loud, but it carried authority. The chamber quieted. "Ambassador Zextharn has requested to address us. Whatever we think of their arrival, we will listen with the dignity this moment deserves." The holographic display activated. The figure that appeared was tall, perhaps 8 feet, with smooth obsidian skin that seemed to absorb light. 4 arms moved with fluid grace. The face was almost human, if you ignored the golden eyes with vertical pupils and the slight luminescence of the skin. "People of Earth," the translator rendered Zextharn's words perfectly. I am Ambassador Zextharn of the Crithian Dominion. We bring greetings from the civilized galaxy. Maria felt her stomach tighten. The word civilized carried implications. Your species has reached a developmental threshold, Zextharn continued. You have achieved basic space travel. You have unified communications. You are ready for integration into the galactic community. Around the chamber, representatives leaned forward. This was what humanity had dreamed of for centuries. First contact. Welcome to the cosmic neighborhood. The Crithian Dominion has governed 6,000 worlds for 12 millennia, Zextharn said. We have brought order, prosperity, and purpose to 200 species. Today we extend this opportunity to humanity. The ambassador's next words were delivered with the casual tone of someone reading a weather report. Initial biological assessments indicate humans are suited for Category 9 labor designation. Physical resilience is excellent. Cognitive adaptability is above average. Reproductive rates are acceptable. The Dominion requires 70% of your population for immediate integration into our workforce. You will be distributed across mining operations, agricultural facilities, and construction projects on 400 worlds. The remaining 30% will maintain Earth under Dominion supervision, producing the next generation of workers. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Maria found her voice first. You want to take 7 billion people as slaves. Zextharn's head tilted slightly. That term is inaccurate. Labor units are provided housing, nutrition, and medical care. They serve the greater prosperity of the Dominion. This is standard integration protocol for developing species. How many species have refused? Maria asked. Refused? The ambassador seemed genuinely confused. Refusal is not part of the protocol. Compliance is assumed. The alternative is classification as a hostile species, subject to containment measures. Explain containment measures. Earth would be quarantined. Your space travel capabilities would be eliminated. Monitoring satellites would enforce planetary boundaries. Should you attempt to leave your world or develop prohibited technologies, correction protocols would be initiated. This typically results in significant population reduction. Maria looked around the chamber. She saw shock, rage, fear, and something else. Something dangerous. She had spent 3 decades preventing wars. Now she saw the spark of one igniting in every face. We need time to consider your proposal, she said carefully. Of course. The Dominion is patient. You have 45 standard days to prepare your population for relocation. Integration teams will arrive on day 46. Compliance is appreciated though not required. The outcome remains the same. The hologram vanished. For 3 seconds nobody moved. Then the chamber erupted. Voices overlapped, shouting in anger and disbelief. The Russian delegate was calling for immediate military response. The Chinese representative demanded diplomatic channels. The American senator was already on a secure line to the Pentagon. Maria let them vent. Then she activated her override, killing every microphone except her own. Enough, she said. We have 45 days. We need a plan. General James Hutchison, the senior military advisor, spoke first. Chancellor, I've been reviewing the data. Those ships have technology we can't match. Energy shields that would stop our most powerful weapons. Propulsion systems that ignore physics as we understand it. If we fight, we lose. Then we don't fight conventionally, said Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the chief science advisor. We adapt. We innovate. We do what humans have always done when facing superior force. We cheat. Explain, Maria said. Yuki pulled up a display. The Crithians have been in space for 12,000 years. Their technology is ancient. Refined, yes. Powerful, yes. But ancient. They stopped innovating millennia ago. We've been in space for barely a century and look at how much we've advanced in that time. We iterate. We improve. We break rules they probably don't even know exist. You're suggesting we can match their technology in 45 days? The skepticism in Hutchison's voice was obvious. No. I'm suggesting we can surprise them. They expect submission or primitive resistance. They won't expect creativity. Over the next 45 days, Earth transformed. The announcement was made publicly. There would be no secrets, no panic-inducing cover stories. Humanity deserved the truth. The Crithians had demanded submission. Earth's answer was being prepared. Every nation contributed. Russian engineers worked alongside American scientists. Chinese manufacturers retooled factories with European designs. The old divisions that had defined humanity for centuries evaporated in the face of a common threat. Not enemy, threat. There was a difference. Maria watched it happen with something approaching wonder. Humanity had never truly been united. Even during global crises, there had always been competing interests, hidden agendas, nations playing long games. Now there was only one game: survival. The military preparations were obvious. Every missile silo was activated. Laser platforms were hastily constructed. Rail guns that existed only as prototypes were rushed into production. But the real work happened in laboratories. Dr. Tanaka's team had a simple insight. The Crithian shields were designed to stop energy weapons and kinetic projectiles. They were not designed to stop something that looked like neither. Humanity had spent decades developing quantum communication technology. The math involved creating brief, localized disruptions in spacetime. It had never occurred to anyone to weaponize it.